Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. This video is rather uncomfortable reading. It's not very pleasant. It's a horrible accident that's happened. A man is going to prison for 27 months, and a woman has had life-changing injuries. But I think if you look at it beyond what actually happened, I think we can see that there is perhaps a cultural difference that needs to be addressed. So I'm going to go and do it. But it's about an elderly woman. She was a pensioner, and she wanted to get onto the bus, and she'd forgotten her bus pass. And so the bus driver refused her entry and made her leave. And as she left, he sort of closed the doors and drove off. She got trapped in the door as it was going, and he drove off and dragged her with her. And she was so badly injured that she had to have both legs amputated right at the end of her life. I mean, it's an appalling thing. And he's going to jail, but I mean, I suppose you could say only for 27 months. It doesn't seem right. On the other hand, perhaps I would suggest he didn't obviously mean for that to happen. It is unfortunate, but I think we need to address another issue on that, which I will do in the video. But we'll just go in and have a look at the facts, and then I'll tell you what I think is my take on this one. So here goes. So, stricken pensioner dragged under the bus when driver refused to let her on, has both legs amputated. Joan Scott's walking stick got caught in the doors after Scott Cliff, who had been jailed for 27 months, refused her entry. Now, I am going to say that this man is probably not an evil man. He's not someone who's done this deliberately. It is a terrible, terrible thing that's happened. And he's going to regret that. He will live with this for the rest of his life. And he's going to do 27 months, which is just over 2 years. He'll be out in a year and a bit. Good behaviour and all. And that's his time in prison. I think, though, he will be aware of what he's done for the remainder of his life. He'll have to live with it. And I think, it isn't the sort of thing you're going to pass up easily. But I think it's more than just the accident that's happened. But anyway, we'll go in. A pensioner had to have both legs amputated after being dragged under a bus when the driver refused to let her on board. Joan Scott was attempting to get a coach from her home in Wallsend to Newcastle city centre in September 2021 when she was 82. The great-grandmother, who had been diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's but was still living independently, waited to let someone off the Go North East bus before trying to get on. Newcastle Crown Court heard. But Scott Cliff, the driver, closed the vehicle's doors and drove off as he believed she was a passenger who had previously forgotten her bus pass. Mrs. Scott had already put her walking stick through the doors when they closed, and as it was attached to her wrist, she was pulled under the motor as it drove off. Can you imagine how horrifying that must be? The stricken OAP, a former gas board worker, was trapped underneath the rear wheels for 45 minutes, leaving her with horrific leg injuries that meant she had to have her left leg amputated above the knee and her right leg below the knee. At Newcastle Crown Court this week, Cliff from Hebburn in Tyneside admitted causing serious injury by dangerous driving, and he was jailed for 27 months. And I honestly don't believe that he did this on purpose. I think it's most unfortunate. And in a way, you almost feel sorry for him. He didn't set off to go to work this day to do this. Speaking about the incident, Jane Foley, prosecutor, said it seems the defendant deliberately chose to ignore Mrs. Foley raising her hand because he suggested to the police officer at the scene that the same elderly lady had got on the week before and didn't have a pass and didn't pay. He said, I'm not letting her on. She's done this a few times. Now, it is obviously clear that she is a vulnerable woman. Someone like this, at that exceeding age, is obviously vulnerable. And this is where I'm going with it. I'm thinking this will be pressure from the bus company to say, no, if they haven't got the pass, don't let them on. Regardless of any humanity you may have about letting vulnerable people on. Now, we've seen it before with young girls, especially. A young girl who was denied access to a bus. The bus driver said, no, you're not coming on, whatever, because she tried to be a young girl. She claimed she was 12. He said, no, you have to pay the full fare. She didn't have the full fare. Turns out she was 12. She was entitled to the child's fare. And he didn't let her on the bus. And on the way home, walking, she got attacked and, sexually attacked. And all because this bus driver didn't have the humanity to let her on the bus. Now, I'm not saying that buses, of course, are charities. Of course not. They are businesses, and we get it. But for him to just casually say, no, she can't come on, it's presumably because if he let her on and she didn't have the pass and then the inspector comes on or whatever, he could lose his job. But that goes to show that this is from the bus company. Now, okay, yes, he should have done it. And he should have double checked. He should never have driven off without checking that it was safe. And so, yes, it's right that he is punished. But you do have to question the reasoning behind his decision. And I think ultimately that will be an issue for the bus company. If they are saying to their drivers, look, regardless of how it appears, regardless of these people being vulnerable, you mustn't let them on. The bus is going to that destination anyway. It's going to be spending that money anyway. You need to allow humanity to take its course. You need to allow people, look, get on the bus, lady, just whatever. Is this the society we're in, where we're letting elderly, aged, mentally vulnerable people wander the streets because corporate decisions are that you mustn't let anyone on without a small pass? And even if she had a pass, it would only been 10p or whatever, they'll do 50p, something like that. Nothing to these people. And it's very sad. Well, I hope she gets well. I hope she gets the full recovery. Obviously the legs aren't coming back anytime soon. But, to have this and then to be losing her mind at the same time, utterly devastating. And I think it goes to show, unfortunate for him, he's getting punished because he didn't check, and it is dangerous driving. I can quite right with that. But I think there's the corporate mentality that needs to be addressed on this one. And I don't want to go into it too much more, just to say that, it's a damn shame, and it's a terrible, terrible thing that's happened. He'll do his time, he'll come out. But he'll have to live with that for the rest of his life. But the board of that bus company, they probably won't even care, will they? They won't care. Anyway, round up and come up. Now, I don't know if it's a true thing that's happening, or if it's just, as I'm getting older, I'm seeing it more. But I feel like the world is getting less humane. It's less caring. I think there's a lot less basic decency left in the world. And I can't see for the life of me why that would be the case. I think we need more decency, more sympathy, not less. Life is hard. Life is hard and tough. We need to look after each other. We need to just take a moment, just to think, does it really matter? Sticking to the rules. Some arbitrary rule that some wanker in an office has described, rather than just looking at it and thinking, look, this is a vulnerable woman, for example. I'm not going to do it. I'm a human being. These corporations take the humanity out of things. And I think it's possibly that I am getting older and I see it. I'm perhaps moving towards a time when I'm more vulnerable. Who knows? But I'm pretty sure that, the world is becoming increasingly heartless. Might just be perception, might be true. Anyway, I'll never know, will I? I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Bit of an odd one, a bit of an odd video, I do say, a bit different from usual, but it was just, when I saw it, I just felt it was something I just wanted to talk about. A bit of a personal one, really. I think it was horrible. It was a horrible thing. Anyway, if you like what you see here on the channel, do please hit the subscribe button. I'll try to do better next time. I'll try to get a less depressing one. And do please like the video. That always helps. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, don't throw yourself under buses under any cost, and goodbye.